Breaking news right now on CBS 2 News at 5 p.m.
Now on CBS 2 News at 5 and streaming on CBSN Los Angeles. Breaking news: a brush fire burns out of control in Orange County, destroying homes and injuring firefighters. That fire was fueled by fierce Santa Ana winds, which have died down right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pat Harvey.
And I'm Juan Fernandez, in tonight for Jeff Vaughn. Here now the very latest on the Bond fire in Orange County. It has burned 7,200 acres with 0% containment. Several homes in the area have either been destroyed or damaged. We're still waiting to learn how many. 25,000 residents evacuated from the area. 2 firefighters were hurt, and the extent of their injuries hasn't been released.
Now, this is the area in and around Silverado Canyon that's under mandatory evacuation orders. They include Majeska, Silverado, and Williams Canyons. Voluntary evacuations include parts of Lake Forest, Borrego Canyon, Baker Ranch, Portola Hills, Live Oak Canyon, Trabuco Canyon, Rose Canyon, Valley Vista Way, Meadow Ridge Drive, and Cowan and Lemon Heights.
We have live team coverage on the firefight.
And let's start with Desmond Shaw. He's above it all in Sky 2. Des.
Juan, we're looking at one of the only hot spots here, and even though the fire has more than doubled in size from early this morning, the relative good news, you can see by the travel of that smoke that winds have really calmed down. So I'll widen out and show you the bigger picture of the more than 7,200 acres that have burned and some of the surrounding streets. It started in the Silverado area. It started as a house fire late last night. We were over it when there was only 1 acre, and it just exploded to more than 7,200. Unfortunately, Orange County Fire, their air TAC, what they call it, the air support, is going to be calling off the operations for the night. But if weather holds, it looks like firefighters should be able to get the upper hand. Live at Sky 2 overhead, I'm Desmond Shaw. Pat and Juan, back to you in the studio.
All right, thanks so much, Desmond. Now, many of the evacuees in today's fire are having a frightening case of deja vu.
They sure are. They had to leave their homes behind 2 months ago when the Silverado fire broke out in that same region. CBS 2 Orange County reporter Michelle Geely live in Orange, where she talked to some of them. Michelle?
That's right, you guys. I'm standing in a parking lot outside of the evacuation zone where some of the people who have left their homes are hanging out to be together here. In all, the fire authority says that we've got 25,000 that is, people evacuated from the eastern part of Orange County. And as you said, 2 U.S. Forest Service firefighters were injured and taken to the hospital this afternoon. A wall of flames burned above Santiago Canyon Road. This is the second major wind-driven wildfire in as many months in this part of Orange County. The fire started Wednesday night at a house on Bond Way in Silverado Canyon.
We literally had to depend upon other neighbors to come and grab horses, grab our dogs, cats, just to help us get all of the animals out because it came so fast.
The bonfire has exploded on day 2. It's grown to more than 7,200 acres. Help has come from all over. This CAL FIRE hand crew hiked into the brush with tools and saws to carve a fire line to stop the flames. South of Irvine Lake, down power lines stretched across Santiago Canyon Road. A shopping center parking lot at the top of Jamboree Road has become a makeshift evacuation area for several who rushed out of the burning canyons. 82-year-old Gabriel Harigui was helped out by his son.
The area that we live, it's we're lucky that that we're still there. When you see the fire right coming over a hill right there where you live, it's scary.
Mandatory evacuations cover several of the canyon communities, as well as portions of Foothill Ranch and Portola Hills. This couple and their dogs escaped to a hotel room in Irvine.
The power was cut probably about 7 p.m.
And when that power goes out, it cuts off all your communications because the cell phones don't work in our area when Edison cuts the power, which creates even a bigger problem because we don't have any communication with our neighbors to find out what's going on.
Back live, what I found out covering this story, and this comes from several of these canyon residents, is when the power is shut off, they turn to their own generators. These are generators that they have purchased because, they tell me, of the power shutoffs, so they can have lights and so they can use their cell phones. Now, firefighters say that this fire started at a home on Bond Way. A woman on social media who lives on that street says she heard a generator explode and then the fire start. We asked the fire authority about this. They say that they're not giving any definitive cause at this point. Investigators are still looking into it. That's the latest live here in Orange. I'm Michelle Geely. Back to you.
All right, Michelle, thanks so much for that. Unbelievable, Pat, how it all blew up in such a short amount of time. Huh?
It certainly did, and I'm sure with those winds driving some of this, those flames out there, it just made it spread even quicker. Amber Lee is here, though, to tell us more about that.
Exactly, and that's why we have those red flag warnings in place, and it's still going to continue as we head into the weekend. So let's take a look at the winds. The winds have diminished compared to what we were dealing with earlier in the morning. So those were our peak winds, but we're expecting a second round of winds to pick up as we head into the overnight hours. Right now we have breezy conditions going through Camarillo and also the Van Nuys area, lighter winds for Burbank, and then also double-digit wind speeds through the Inland Empire. Our high wind warnings have expired for LA and Ventura County, but it's been replaced with a wind advisory, and that's going to last until tomorrow afternoon. And then we have about an hour left of the high wind warning over the Inland Empire in Orange County. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Amber. Now look at this. A massive fire broke out in the middle of an industrial area in Riverside County earlier today. It started with a fire in a mulch yard. The flames then jumped a street and burned into a pallet yard. Now this is on Brown Avenue near Market Street. Firefighters are getting a handle on it, but it is still smoldering. And we will have more on the fire and power outages in Riverside County just a little later in this newscast. And
another fire, Pat, is burning near the Corona Municipal Airport. So far, it's scorched 750 acres. The airport fire started yesterday afternoon within the Prado Reservoir, which borders Riverside and San Bernardino counties. Cal Fire says the fire is 10% contained. Nearly 200 personnel are battling the flames out there. 5 Cal Fire air tankers and 2 water-dropping helicopters have been doing their part from the air. Several structures have been threatened as well, but none have burned. The 71 freeway is also closed in the area.
Well, the fire is also burning in Hemet. Authorities in Riverside County say flames have burned 200 acres, and this fire is now 25% contained. Air resources are helping to try and increase that containment. And stay with CBS 2 for continuing coverage of the fires burning across Southern California and our fire danger conditions. Ahead at 5:15, our Rachel Kim is live with the windy weather that's been triggering power outages.
All right, now to the very latest in the battle against coronavirus. The governor today announced a new stay-at-home order.
Now, this will be a regional order based on available intensive care unit space. CBS 2's Joy Benedict has more on the order and reaction from local businesses.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
It's another bad dish for diners. As the governor tells restaurant owners, you're going to have to stop serving in-person diners again.
This is the hardest thing I have ever done.
Gail Cole owns Gail's Restaurant. She thought she was going to have to shut down her patio last week with LA County's order, but since she's in Pasadena, she stayed open and now must prepare for takeout only.
We're trying to figure out exactly what day because we've already bought product and we're ready to go till Sunday at least.
But this time, it's not just restaurants on the chopping block.
Introducing a regional stay-at-home order in the state of California.
Personal services like nail salons, hair salons, bars and wineries all over California in every county must close up shop when their region's hospitals' ICUs reach 85% of their collective capacity and stay closed for a minimum of 3 weeks. And retail stores will go down to 20% capacity.
Oh my God, I have family. I have 3 kids. I have the bill to pay, everything. I don't know what I do.
It's a blow to Tammy Wynn at Nail Time in Studio City, who's already having a tough time getting enough customers to stay open. She's hoping this won't last much longer.
I hope the COVID vaccine will work for us.
In a news conference, Governor Gavin Newsom insisted it's not forever, as the state says closing these non-essential businesses is the only way to slow the spread and protect frontline workers.
We know that by reducing our overall movement and mixing for a short period of time, we can get the gains that we need to bend this curve.
But business owners and employees now being sent back to unemployment can't help but wonder who's helping them.
It does break my heart to have to tell my staff just before Christmas that I'm closing down.
Right now, we don't know when this will happen. ICU bed capacities are something that are monitored by the state. Here in our region of Southern California, it's projected we could hit that critical capacity by early next week. From Pasadena, Joy Benedict, CBS 2 News.
Well, as LA County hit another record number of cases, health officials say everyone must do what they can to stop the surge.
Yeah, they warn the number of cases could overwhelm hospitals.
What we still see, which is a rapidly increasing rate of hospitalizations, which if it does continue, could risk overwhelming the healthcare system and in particular the ICU capacity among the hospitals of Los Angeles County.
Health officials say they believe 1 in every 200 LA County residents has the virus, which is actually down from 1 in 145 last week.
And breaking news now, LA County Sheriff Alex Villanueva just tweeted about coronavirus restriction enforcement. He said, quote, "Since March, we have continued to focus on education and voluntary compliance regarding health orders. Moving forward, we will additionally be conducting targeted enforcement on super spreader events."
LA County hit another one-day record for new cases, more than 7,800 today. Hospitalizations are also at a record high with more than 2,500. Another 44 people have died from coronavirus. San Bernardino County reported more than 2,400 new cases and 18 people have died.
Orange County now more than 1,100 new cases and 8 more deaths. Riverside County more than 900 new cases and 18 additional deaths. And Ventura County more than 400 new cases and 2 more deaths reported there. Well, as the U.S. prepares its approval and distribution of the coronavirus vaccine later this month, the country is experiencing a surge unlike any time since this pandemic began. The U.S. recorded the single deadliest day since the pandemic began with more than 3,100 American deaths. More than 14 million Americans have had COVID-19. The pressure is growing for the Food and Drug Administration to approve a vaccine. The White House's Operation Warp Speed hopes to have one ready for distribution by December 15th. Dr. Anthony Fauci is critical of the speed in which Great Britain approved a vaccine for distribution.
They kind of ran around the corner of the marathon and joined it in the last mile. They really rushed through that approval.
Dr. Fauci also briefed President-elect Biden's team on current plans to put down this current surge. Biden says he asked Fauci to be his chief medical officer and to be part of his administration's coronavirus task force. And the president-elect said he will ask Americans to continue to wear masks for the first 100 days of his administration.
President Trump and President-elect Joe Biden are both calling on Congress to pass another coronavirus relief package. But the two, like their counterparts on Capitol Hill, do not agree on how big the package should be. President Trump says he believes Congress can pass an emergency coronavirus relief package put forward by Senator Mitch McConnell. The majority leader says the $500 billion proposal was kept small to win the president's support. But Democrats say the proposal doesn't go far enough. And President-elect Joe Biden says he supports the larger $908 billion bipartisan plan introduced this week.
I think they're getting very close, and I want it to happen, and I believe that they're getting very close to a deal. Yeah.
Need relief now. So I've been urging our congressional Republicans to work on a bipartisan emergency package now.
CBS News has confirmed President Trump had a tense meeting with Attorney General William Barr Tuesday after Barr said the DOJ has found no evidence of widespread fraud that would change the election. The president would not say if he still has confidence in Barr as Attorney General. And next here at 5, dangerous winds are fueling our fire weather.
The powerful gusts have also put thousands of Southern Californians in the dark. We'll have the latest on the precautionary outages next.
And another mysterious monolith appears, this time along the central coast, but it is gone just about as quickly as it appeared.
And how a visit with one of Santa's helpers is changing during the pandemic. Fierce winds blow through the Southland, knocking over shopping carts and stirring things up all across the region. A lot of people are in the dark because of those strong winds.
Well, CBS 2's Rachel Kim is live in Canyon Country with a look at conditions there and how power has been cut in many areas. Rachel.
Well, Pat and Juan, it has been and continues to be a very windy day here in Santa Clarita. This is one of many areas in the Southland that's being affected by these precautionary power outages. There are even more areas under consideration at this point. Now, this afternoon, we spoke with Canyon Country residents who are hoping their power will be back on sooner than what SoCal Edison anticipates. As strong winds swept across Canyon Country this morning, people out for a walk struggled to get across the park.
Was actually kind of pushing against me. It was pretty intense. It was pretty cold. I didn't really dress proper for the wind.
These high winds are the reason Southern California Edison may have to shut off power to more than 250,000 customers in many Southland communities. The public safety power shutoffs are used to reduce the risk of potential wildfires caused by electrical lines sparking during strong wind weather conditions. They did it in Jenny Cuckoo's neighborhood around 9:30 this morning.
I had 4 kids doing online school, and then I have a toddler here. And the power just went out, so I had to send the teachers a message letting them know that they couldn't do any more classwork. And I won't let them open the fridge because I think the food's all going to go bad.
Cuckoo says this is not only an inconvenience, it's a concern because their outage is expected to last until Saturday.
We're going to be cold. We have a lot of blankets. I don't know. It's not looking good.
Down the street at this gas station, most of their business was cut off when their power was shut off.
We do cash only because we have access with the key, but gas-wise, other like a credit card, no, even ATM machine doesn't work. Everything connects to power.
The hottest seller was ice.
And we just had to get enough ice to keep all our beverages and food supplies cold.
The traffic signal on the corner was working thanks to a generator, which is what Phil Moreton will rely on if his electricity isn't back soon.
We're RVers, so I have a generator and we have flashlights and we have candles and I have a barbecue that I can cook on.
All of the residents we spoke with said they understand the reason behind the power shutoffs, but they also believe there is a better way.
Sure, I can appreciate it today. What I would like to see is maybe infrastructure work so that we don't have to do that.
SoCal Edison says they are working to limit the number of affected customers with patrols in affected areas. Now, local officials also want to urge people to avoid outdoor activities that can cause a spark near dry vegetation, and there is certainly a lot of that around. Reporting live in Canyon Country, Rachel Kim, CBS 2 News.
Well, looking at Rachel there, we don't have to guess what the conditions are there. The wind was really blowing.
Everything hinging on those winds right now.
Yeah, so the good news is that the winds will not be quite as strong as what we saw earlier today, but we're still dealing with the second round of these gusty Santa Ana winds, especially over the mountains and also the foothill communities and also some of our valley locations. So this red flag warning continues until about Saturday night. And with the very gusty winds, our humidity levels are very low, so it is dry outside. And then we also have those warm temperatures. And just like what we saw earlier, anytime a new fire would spark, it would spread very fast. So this is the reason why we have that red flag warning. On top of everything else with wind advisories, and then we are dealing with the high wind warning for the Inland Empire until about 6 p.m. We also have a high surf advisory, so that means elevated surf, bigger than normal waves, and dangerous rip currents for LA and Ventura County. And then we also have a beach hazard statement for Orange County as well. Temperatures right now, upper 60s for Burbank, mid 60s for Thousand Oaks, 70s for Fullerton, 64 for Long Beach, and we have 60s for Laguna Beach. Here's a look at the future cast. So you can see that as we head into the evening, we start to see the winds pick up in our usual wind prone areas, meaning the foothills and the mountains. This is nothing like what we saw earlier today, but we'll continue to see these winds gusting up, and in some areas we could see wind gusts anywhere from 40 to 45 miles per hour. So this is the reason why we have that wind advisory over LA and Ventura County, including the San Fernando Valley and the Santa Clarita Valley. And then as we head into Friday afternoon, the winds really start to relax a little bit more, but those offshore winds will continue to stick around through the weekend with occasional gusts here and there, just not quite as gusty as what we're dealing with now. And because of the winds, we have our wind sheltered area, so a hard freeze warning in place for the Antelope Valley. That means sub-freezing temperatures as low as 16 degrees in some spots. Here's a look at our overnight lows. It's going to be a chilly one. 48 for Van Nuys tonight, 35 for Riverside, 47 for Santa Ana. And then our 7-day forecast shows that we will stay above average, going down just a touch as we head into Friday and then warming back up again. Take a look at Tuesday, 70s and 80s returning before things begin to slowly cool down by the end of next week. 73 for the Inland Empire tomorrow, 62 for the high deserts, and 50s for the mountains. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Amber. And ahead here at 5, a gateway to the stars comes crashing down.
We're going to show you the moment a massive radio telescope collapses, falling hundreds of feet.
First Utah, then Romania, now California's Central Coast. We don't know why this monolith appeared, but we do know where it went. Looks so sci-fi, doesn't it? A dramatic collapse of a radio telescope that's played a key role in astronomical discoveries for decades. The National Science Foundation released this video from Puerto Rico as the 900-ton platform and dome fell more than 400 feet. The telescope was already slated to be closed after a cable broke this summer. Well, a metal monolith that appeared in San Luis Obispo County has been destroyed.
This latest mystery follows similar ones in Utah and Romania. The monolith that appeared atop Pine Mountain Loop at Stadium Park in Atascadero yesterday was destroyed by vandals overnight. A video streamed online shows a group of young men from Orange County traveling to San Luis Obispo County to destroy the metal object, replacing it with a makeshift wooden cross.
The three-sided structure appeared just 2 weeks after a similar one you're looking at now. This was first spotted in the Utah desert, and days after another one was discovered halfway across the world in Romania. Both of those monoliths have since disappeared. Well, still to come on CBS 2 News at 5, our team coverage of fire danger, wind, and power outages continues in Riverside County.
Thousands of customers right now across the Inland Empire are without power intentionally. I'm Rick Montanez, live in Moreno Valley. And coming up, I'll explain how this could change and increase with the threat of wildfires. But what has to happen before the power is restored?
Plus, a woman murdered near a park in Pasadena tonight. An arrest has been made.
And destruction therapy, big booms, and a smashing spree to release your 2020 rage.
Oh, well.
Yep.
But here's this. To make you smile, our annual Chips for Kids toy drive is underway. This year, we are going virtual, and you can participate without going to a drop-off location. Just text TOYS to 76278 or go to cbsla.com/chipsforkids to donate.
You're watching CBS 2 News. Here's the latest at 5:30.
Now at 5:30, here's the latest on the bonfire. 25,000 Orange County residents have been told to leave the Silverado, Majeska, and Williams Canyons area because of that fire. It has burned 7,200 acres with zero containment. Several homes have been damaged or destroyed. Fire officials will go through and count how many once it's safe. 2 firefighters were hurt battling the blaze. The extent of their injuries has not been released. And a huge fire in Riverside County sent black smoke billowing into the sky earlier today. It started in a mulch yard.
That's right. The flames jumped a street and burned into a pallet yard. CBS 2's Rick Montanez is live with more on that and the wind and power outages in the Inland Empire. Rick?
Juan and Pat, right now in this North Moreno Valley neighborhood, the only lights that are on are from solar batteries or from the generator in our news van. And it's been this way since last night when neighbors say SoCal Edison turned the power off because the risk of a wildfire. Well, now they say the winds have calmed down here and the neighbors hope their power comes back on soon. Howling Santa Ana winds today toppled a few big rigs on the 15 in Fontana. Strong gusts, a major concern for fire crews as much of Southern California is under red flag warnings right now. Firefighters made quick work on an industrial fire in Riverside where mulch and pallets ignited, sending huge plumes of smoke into the air. The concern with this was whipping wind sending embers into the dry brush surrounding the fire.
Around like 10 p.m., no power. I was watching Netflix and it shut down.
Adrian Sandoval's neighborhood in North Moreno Valley without power since last night. SoCal Edison shut it off as part of the Public Safety Power Shutoff initiative to prevent electrical equipment from sparking a brush fire in these extreme conditions.
They just need to tell us at least 2 hours ahead of time or something to prepare at least a little bit.
Sandoval and other neighbors on Mountain Crest Drive wish they had received better notice of the shutoffs.
There could be more planning involved as far as advising the people that are going to be impacted.
Luis Cervantes just picked up a new generator to power his refrigerator and freezers. He's worried about preserving milk for his newborn.
Food is food, right? But that's our biggest concern right now.
Conditions on this street much calmer than expected, so they hope the power comes back soon. But the windy conditions in other parts of the IE have a lot of people, including many truck drivers, taking extra steps to be careful until the danger blows over. The public safety power shutoffs are listed on SoCal Edison's website. And at last check, across the Inland Empire, there are nearly 29,000 customers currently without power. That number could go up if conditions worsen. But the hope in this neighborhood anyway is that conditions will continue to improve and they'll get their power back. Reporting live tonight in Moreno Valley, Rick Montanez, CBS 2 News.
A volunteer was bitten by a tiger at the Big Cat Rescue in Tampa, Florida. That's the sanctuary run by Carol Baskin, featured in the Netflix docuseries Tiger King. Candy Kauser was taken to the hospital with a severe arm injury. Baskin said Kauser was feeding a 3-year-old tiger when she noticed he wasn't in the right cage. She reached her hand in another cage to unclip a door, and that's when she was bitten. Baskin says the tiger will be quarantined for 30 days, but says the attack was a normal response due to the presence of food.
A major move by a movie studio struggling to get its slate of films in front of bigger audiences. Warner Brothers will release all its 2021 films on the streaming service HBO Max as well as in theaters. And 1 month after release, the films will be taken off HBO Max and will continue to play in theaters. This follows Warner Brothers putting the next Wonder Woman film on HBO Max later this month as well as in theaters.
Well, sad news to share with you here. Former CBS 2 entertainment reporter David Sheehan has passed away. He was a trailblazer and a legend in entertainment news. Sheehan first worked for CBS from 1970 to 1984. He then worked at KNBC. Sheehan returned to CBS 2 from 1994 to 2004. He was the first entertainment interviewer on local TV. Sheehan interviewed a who's who in Hollywood over his remarkable 40-year career, and he passed away Tuesday after a long bout with cancer. David Sheehan was 82.
It was one of the old timers, Pat. I worked with him for about 8 years here at CBS 2 from 96 till he left in 2004. There wasn't anybody in Hollywood he didn't interview. Everybody knew him, too.
Everybody knew David Sheehan. I believe when we merged in 2002, I worked with David Sheehan and just enjoyed his storytelling. And he had so much respect from, entertainment industry insiders. So may he rest in peace.
Indeed.
And we'll be right back.
Police have made an arrest in connection with the death of a woman who was stabbed to death. The body of 49-year-old Elena Ledford was found last month in Cajamarca Watershed Park. Well, today, Pasadena police announced that 26-year-old Adrian Robert Casey was arrested in New Mexico. Investigators say Casey knew the victim. Detectives say the murder weapon was recovered when Casey was arrested. Casey was charged with murder and is awaiting extradition back here to California.
Glendale police are asking for help identifying this burglary suspect believed to be in his 40s. Police say he entered a 90-year-old woman's home pretending to be a contractor. He asked to go upstairs to check some windows. The woman later discovered jewelry was missing. It happened in the 1500 block of Winchester Avenue on November 5th. If you have any information, you're asked to contact Glendale police.
3 former presidents say they are willing to get a COVID-19 vaccine to prove its safety. Former presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton say they're willing to get a vaccine to prove the treatment is safe and effective. Mr. Obama told the radio show he is even considering having his injection filmed. Mr. Clinton's spokesperson says the former president will receive the vaccine as soon as it's available to him. Former President Bush has even reached out to Dr. Anthony Fauci to see how he could help promote the vaccine. Well, Christmas is just around the corner and children are clamoring to see Santa and tell him what they want.
CBS 2's Jasmine Beal has a look at just how a visit with Santa has changed during the pandemic.
We just sit on a present. It was just like a big bench that's red.
Stephanie Stocking's 2 boys excitedly described their visit to Santa this year. Because of COVID, they couldn't sit on his lap or give him a hug.
Santa wore a mask, the kids wore masks, and they were able to walk up and talk to him with, 6-foot distance.
Her sons, Berkeley and Oliver, saw Santa at a San Diego mall, but had to stand behind a wall of presents that served as a safe barrier. Or like this Santa in Texas, who smiled for photos while sitting behind a plastic shield.
What we're calling them is safe Santas.
Mitch Allen's company has been hiring out Santas for a decade. He said in the spring, as COVID cases began to climb, his business suddenly ground to a halt. Those months are usually the busiest negotiating contracts.
So we were really wondering, is there going to be a Christmas this year?
But by the summer, he began to rethink how they were going to protect Santa.
As you might recognize, Santas are in a high-risk group for a negative outcome if they get COVID.
So now his Santas use shields, practice social distancing, and hold virtual visits. Allen says despite all the precautions, he is still worried what this surge in COVID cases will do right before Christmas.
So many of our big retailers are still subject to being shut down. And so if they get shut down, well, then the Santa portion of that is also shut down.
As for stocking, she says seeing Santa even from a distance lifted their spirits during what's been a challenging few months.
Our main hope was just for them to get to see him and talk to him, and they got to do that.
Here locally, you can make a reservation to see Santa safely at the Bass Pro Shop in Rancho Cucamonga. Another option, the Glendale Galleria, where you can visit Santa at a distance. Outside, you'll also need a reservation. Here in the newsroom, Jasmine Veal, CBS 2 News.
Delta Airlines will soon start contact tracing for its international passengers who come to the U.S. People can voluntarily submit their name, address, email, and phone number to go directly to the CDC. No major COVID outbreaks have been traced to commercial airlines, but there also hasn't been widespread tracing. So the White House Coronavirus Task Force has asked airlines to start their own tracing rather than having the government handle it. And Delta is the first to do so.
Walmart says it will pay out an estimated $388 million to its U.S. workers in a new round of holiday cash bonuses. That comes to $300 for full-time employees and $150 for part-timers. The holiday payout will be Walmart's fourth round of such bonuses this year. Critics say Walmart workers should get permanent hourly wage bumps or hazard pay for working the pandemic.
All right, well, we need to get another check with Amber Lee. Just how long these strong winds are going to be around.
Hi there, Pat and Juan. So our winds have died down compared to what we saw earlier this morning. So those are our peak Santa Ana winds. We're going to start to see these winds ramp up again as we head into the overnight hours. Our high wind warning for LA and Ventura County has expired and been replaced with a wind advisory. So that means we're expecting windy conditions again, but again, not quite as strong as earlier for the Santa Clarita Valley and for the San Fernando Valleys and the foothills and mountains of LA and Ventura County. A high wind warning continues. We have about 9 minutes left of this, and we're watching to see whether or not a wind advisory will be replacing this high wind warning, just like what we saw for LA and Ventura County. But what I can tell you is that the red flag warnings continue until Saturday night, because even though the winds are not going to be quite as strong as we head into the overnight hours, we'll still have gusty offshore winds here and there up until about Saturday night. So with the gusty winds, the low humidity, and the warm temperatures, again, if new fires were to start, it would spread very fast. And we saw that earlier today with all those different wildfires. Red flag warning continues to about Saturday night. And then we also have elevated surf and dangerous rip currents because of this low pressure system that's to the east and high pressure overhead. Evelyn Taft will have more details on the Santa Ana winds coming up at 6 p.m.
Well, check out this plane. It makes a landing right on a freeway in Minneapolis. This happened last night on Interstate 35W. You can see the plane lands and hits a vehicle that was traveling in the right lane. No one was hurt. The pilot was identified as an award-winning member of the U.S. Aerobatics flying team. What is not known is what happened with the plane to cause the pilot to land it on the freeway.
And here's one way to get out that 2020 angst. It's called destruction therapy. The service is offered by a company in the United Kingdom called Scrap Car Comparison. Participants can destroy cars which are destined for the scrapyard anyway, with explosions, shotguns, and even a tank. The sessions run about $36. Not too bad there, right? That's going to do it for us here at 5. CBS 2 News at 6 starts right now.
Developing news right now on CBS 2 News at 6 p.m.